Ross is counsel with WilmerHale and former counsel for the Senate Finance Committee. Jackie had mentioned financial services. I suppose you can talk about whatever you want to talk about, but if you'd like to talk about financial services, I think that might be useful.
Thank you. And I should say at the outset that I'm here today speaking on behalf of myself, so although I am speaking about financial services, I'm not representing any particular company today. With that said, I am here to talk about financial services and specifically about the data localization issue because that's the issue that the industry cares about the most. I'm sorry, it's already to a sense been addressed at length earlier today, so I'll hopefully add something worthwhile. But as you've undoubtedly gathered from all of the discussion of the issue, the provision prohibiting data localization is one of the real breakthroughs of the TPP in the digital sense, and that's why it's of such concern to the financial services industry that the provision doesn't apply to them, because the same types of problems that you encounter for other companies also exist in the financial services sector. I think it was number 5 on the digital 2 list, and that's a sense also of its importance. So real concern on the part of the industry that they're left out from this important protection. They pointed out, in addition to the fact that they face these same problems and need these same protections, that the carve-out is contrary to congressional intent. And if you actually, for example, go to look at the Ways and Means Committee report on TPA, because TPA created a negotiating objective for data localization, it said that these provisions that USDR should go out and negotiate should afford equal protection to all sectors, including financial services, and it actually called out financial services as a sector that should be treated the same way. And there's similar language in the Senate Finance Committee report. So there's a congressional element as well, and so not surprisingly, the carve-out, in addition to concerning industry, has caused a lot of concern in Congress, including bipartisan concern on finance and Ways and Means. There have been a lot of conversations raised with the administration. There have been letters. I think there was a House letter with 60 some odd signatures, a big Senate letter, and it's also been, most importantly, it's been included on the short list of issues that the Congress would like to see fixed before TPP gets a vote. So that's the concern from one side. The administration, as you heard earlier from Ambassador Holliman, their point has been that the reason for the carve-out was financial services regulators, they need to regulate, and in order to regulate, they need access to information, and they want to be able to maintain their discretion to impose these kinds of regulations in the future if they need to. They've also talked about problems that they've had in the past getting access to information. There was especially some trouble during the financial crisis that they don't want to see recur. And recently, when he was on the Hill, Secretary Lew talked about the need to protect regulators' prudential regulatory authority as one of the reasons for the carve-out. Now, the industry responds to these points by pointing out, first of all, that Dodd-Frank, a lot of reforms after the financial crisis, among other things, created some new requirements for information gathering on the part of financial services companies and working closer with regulators prior to a crisis, that if they'd been in place then, you wouldn't have had the problems that the regulators had during the crisis. They've also pointed out, and this is actually an important point, that the trade agreement provisions, to the extent that regulators have concerns about getting access to data of US companies, TPP provision is not going to impact that because trade agreement provisions create rights as between governments and foreign governments with respect to foreign suppliers. So there's nothing in the localization provision that would impact the ability of Treasury to require US companies to store data locally if they thought that was necessary for some reason. And then finally, if there ever was a reason why regulators really thought they did need to require localization, although that hasn't happened even after the financial crisis, there are exceptions in the agreements, including in particular the prudential exception, which is very broad, that would give the regulators the cover that they would need to do that. So those are the two sides. My sense is that the industry and the administration is working together in good faith to try to find a solution, and they seem to be making good progress. And as far as I can tell, if you really dig down to the issues, the core issue seems to be access to information and giving regulators the comfort that if these localization provisions did apply in the financial services sector, that wouldn't prevent them from getting access to the information that they need to regulate. And so that is really the challenge, and the question is how to do that in a way that works for everyone, including Congress, who's watching this in the context of TPP, also because of what it means going forward for TTIP and TISA, the other agreements where this is also going to be an issue. Now, recently, when Secretary Blue was before Congress, he said it might be possible to address this in the TPP context through some sort of side arrangement. So that was really an encouraging thing to hear. Going forward, then, you would hope to see that all sectors would be treated equally, so in TISA, TTIP, and thereafter. Thank you.